Hey guys, David Pingree here with Racer X. So we've got a pretty cool project for you today. This bike we found, this is like the plight of a lot of the motocross fans that were into the two-strokes or the retro look. This is a 2003 Kawasaki KX125. They made these things all the way up to 06, so this is a pretty recent addition in terms of Kawasaki 125s. And we found this thing, it was somebody's trail bike up near Thousand Oaks. Thing was very, very clean. If you can look and see here up close, this is the stock frame paint. We didn't have to redo any of this. So you can tell it was, the hours that were on it were very soft hours, very lightly used. But still, we wanted to polish this thing up and kind of build a nice clean race bike out of this thing, right? So about $3,000 to buy it. And then from there, like I said, we didn't have to do anything to the bottom end. The hours were low enough that it was pretty clean. We threw a Vertex piston in it. The cylinder itself looked immaculate. Didn't have to do anything to it. So just rebuilt it back up. We put some Hinson clutch plates in here just to sort of tighten that up. A V-Force reed block, an FMF exhaust pipe and silencer, the shorty. And that was it for the engine. Again, we didn't want to overbuild it. Just have a nice, reliable, fun bike to ride. So we've got some VP fuel in here, some C12. Again, not necessary. We just kind of like to do that. Got the jetting spec from the guys at Pro Circuit off their website. You can go on there. That's a nice feature they have is if you go to the ProCircuit.com, they've got all of their specs for every bike for jetting. So kind of a cool feature. Not as useful in today's four-stroke world, but if you've got an old bike, check it out. Pro Taper helped us out with some bars here. We've got works connection bits and pieces here and there, like the brake caps, clutch perch, some different things like that. And you can start to kind of go through and see here we got Raptor foot pegs, titanium pegs, and we had to do a little machining because they actually didn't make them for this bike, so we took a different model and kind of cut some material off to make them fit. Hopefully we didn't damage the integrity of them, but let's see how that goes. Again, works connection, bar clamps, bits and pieces like that. It's actually the stock hub that we just did a Cerakote procedure on. The guys at Faster USA helped us out quite a bit with that. The Cerakote is a really cool coating that they do. It's affordable. You can take your stock components, literally any kind of metals, get that process done, and it looks trick. I mean, this is sort of a magnesium color. Looks really great. Throw some Excel rims on that, some Dunlop MX3S tires, and we got a beautiful wheel set. As far as plastic goes, the front end is Cycra. But the back half is only available from Polysport. So you can buy it through Cycra, but it's kind of a mixed match. Again, as being an old bike, sometimes you got to hunt for these parts and pieces. Moto Seat recovered our seat for us. And the suspension, we had the guys at Racetech go through it for us. Just revalve it, change the oil, make sure nothing's broken in there. Anytime you buy a bike this old, always a great idea to have it looked at. A lot of times you'll find little broken parts and pieces and components inside there, especially if it's been abused and been run out of oil and continued to run dry. So this wasn't obviously in that bad a shape, but they went through it for us and set it up. So I think should be good. And you know what? We put a Super Sprowtz chain and sprocket on this thing. Cycra did some graphics for us, and that's it. The thing looks great, and we're gonna get this out on the track and have some fun. Well, that was fun. This thing is such a cool bike. It's been really a long time since I've ridden a Kawasaki. They obviously don't make these, haven't for a long time, so it's pretty rare to find one, especially in this good a shape. A few of the takeaways for me was the jetting specs were perfect. The jetting was spot on, which, you know, on a two-stroke, especially a 125, just makes it so much fun to ride. You know, kind of got to work it to get it to come right out of the turn, but once the power came on, the front end picked up. I mean, this thing just went. It pulled really strong through the middle and top. So that's what I remember about these bikes, just being so fun. The sound and the excitement of them kind of coming on and pulling out of the turn. So everything I remembered it to be, really, really clean power. The suspension was a little soft, and like the rebound was a little quick. So I don't know if that's just the way these settings were on these old KYB suspenders, but we turned in the compression 4 clicks, slowed it down 2, and got me right there. And it's interesting to, a couple of things about building these bikes up is you can put some of the modern parts on it that are better than anything you had back then, like the tires. These MX3S tires are light years ahead of anything we had back in, the early 2000s or 90s. So throwing them on here, you can feel how good the thing hooks up, and it almost kind of changes the characteristic of it coming into turns and the way it hooks up coming out of turns. So it makes it fun to kind of feel those changes. One problem we did run into when we manufactured these pegs up is the mounting point must be a little further forward on these because they're for a different brand. And so it really closed up that space between the shifter and brake pedal and the peg. And I was having to basically dig my toe in there to catch shifts. So we may have to end up going back to the stock pegs, but that's okay. We tried something, it didn't quite work, but that was our only snafu. We'll have to go back and fix that. But other than that, the suspension really worked good once we got it adjusted. All the controls and levers. These Pro Taper bars, just the bend might be a touch high for me. It's the reed bend. I may go back down to something a little lower. Just because these bikes, these old two-strokes, had such a deep pocket, you already feel like you're riding in it. So you need kind of a flat bar to make that, for me, to make that comfortable. Just personal preference. But really a lot of fun, and obviously this is a jewel to find this thing with such low hours on it and really gently used hours. Whoever had this, it was just a trail bike or a little, cruiser. It wasn't getting abused every weekend. So really cool find. Love this thing, and thank you to all the companies involved. It can get difficult to find parts and pieces for these. The older you get as far as bikes go, and we had some cool companies come through, Polysport, Cycra, some of those parts that, like I said, are tough to find from an OEM, and you're searching those aftermarket brands. So really appreciate it. A lot of fun on this thing. Thanks to all the companies involved, and thank you guys for watching.